Hey guys, welcome to the White Sands Energy Medicine Studio. I'm your host, Liz Naughton, and today's episode is about the self-help technique, Be Set Free Fast. I've been getting a lot of inquiries about this healing modality, mainly what is it and how do you use it? This whole episode really is to see if I can answer those questions for you. I gathered up some emails where people had asked me specific questions, and I'll address them during this podcast. I'm also hoping that I give you enough information that it kind of piques your curiosity and gets you to try Be Set Free Fast. Starting with the first question, what the heck is Be Set Free Fast, or BSFF? Be Set Free Fast is a descriptive acronym for behavioral and emotional symptom elimination training for resolving excess emotions, fear, anger, sadness, and trauma. This new form of energy psychology first came onto the scene in the early 1990s by Dr. Roger Callahan. His energy-based system was effective in removing trauma and stuck memories by tapping different acupressure points in a specific pattern along the pathways of the body, or actually the meridians. The name of this new system was Thought Field Therapy, or TFT. More modalities soon followed because of their effectiveness, and they were easy to learn. EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, was created by Gary Craig. TAT, Tapas Acupressure Technique, was developed by Tapas Fleming. And these are probably the two most well-known modalities that use acupressure points to move stuck emotional energy out of the body. Another extraordinary energy-based approach that address trauma and PTSD is AIT, Advanced Integrative Therapy. It's a chakra-based system created by Asha Clinton. These are all excellent disciplines and highly effective. It is definitely worth your time investigating to see if any of them resonate with you. Dr. Larry Nims developed Be Set Free Fast in the early 1990s. In fact, he was the first student to learn TFT from Dr. Callahan. Dr. Nim's approach to the new modality with the idea that your subconscious mind is a faithful servant and will do whatever you tell it. Be Set Free Fast bypass tapping and speaks directly to the subconscious. All you have to do is give your subconscious a set of instructions followed by a cue word. The cue can be anything under the sun that you want it to be. A few of my cue words have been fix it, heal, help, love, save. Any of those are interchangeable and equally as effective. The cue word is used at the end of the statement to help you get rid of unwanted feelings or beliefs. Ideally, what you're looking for is just neutrality, so that if you get triggered by something, you can say your cue word and you go into a neutral state instead of reacting. It's such a cool process. This modality is not hypnosis. You are completely awake and present during the session. Anytime you notice discomfort, you can use this technique to change how you think, believe, feel, and respond to any particular circumstance. I am highly sensitive. In fact, I would consider myself to be empathic. So I definitely can feel energies and emotions heightened when I walk in the room. So instead of now responding to what I feel, I can say my cue word and get back into a neutral state so that I basically fit in, which is the key. The scenario that I'm thinking most specifically is last year I attended 7 family weddings. And I usually fold like a deck of cards the minute they put the wedding march on. It's like the tears start streaming. Well, last year what I did is I used the techniques that I learned, and I'm happy to say that I enjoyed the wedding immensely and didn't feel that self-conscious embarrassment about weeping all over the place. I still shed a tear or two, but it was nothing like what I normally do. That in itself has been worth every moment that I have used and invested in learning how to do Be Set Free Fast. It's fast and easy to use. When I notice some crazy thought, I can use my cue and then give it the energetic shaboot. I became a practitioner in this technique because I wanted to provide my clients with more opportunities to release old stuck energy. Be Set Free Fast offers another outlet for them to release these old memories, and it's been a powerful tool for my clients as well as myself. One of the questions that was sent to me was, how did I discover Be Set Free Fast? In 2017, my sister gave me a ticket to attend a Be Set Free Fast weekend workshop for my birthday. It came just at the nick of time. I was still in my corporate job and I had been feeling the onset of burnout. I didn't know at the time that what that burnout really was symbolizing was that I had started to develop compassion fatigue. I absolutely loved the clients that I was working for, but the need was so great with so very few resources that not only did I start to feel depleted by the end of the day, I started to feel depleted by the beginning of the day. I didn't have enough to give them, and it was starting to take a toll. The workshop really saved my life. I met Dr. Larry Nims, which is such a cool thing to be able to do that. And I also met his lead trainer of the Be Set Free Fast program, Alfred Heath, and began my road back to sanity, really. The next question is, how long does it take for this process to become a working part of your life? I guess what gets practiced gets perfected. And quite honestly, when I left the weekend workshop, I worked with the principals for a couple of months. But as life began to get crazy again, I very slowly stopped practicing. If I don't have the techniques in the uppermost of my mind and also having that connection of my interior, it's like, what am I thinking and what am I feeling? The techniques, like radiant circuits, went to sleep. What got me back up and using these techniques again was COVID. Just the craziness of the shelter in place. I pulled out all of my materials and I started learning and perfecting how to use this technique for myself, especially because I wanted to stay married. The other thing is I didn't want to implode on myself. You don't have to be hyper vigilant about it, just being aware. And what I mean by that is, if I happen to be watching something on TV and I get this feeling of either being afraid or sad, I can just say my cue word, check in, has it dissolved? I'll say it again, has it dissolved? I'll say it a third time, has it dissolved? And when I get that neutral feeling, then I just go back to my whatever it was I was doing. The nice thing about that is there's no gunny sacking. In other words, I'm not taking all of these different emotions and throwing them into a gunny sack where it's going to spill over. I'm going to have some kind of emotional event that's not only embarrassing, but it's unpleasant for other people to witness. I guess self-regulation is the other term for that. Doing my part to keep everything on the inside healthy is really something that I'm devoted to. The next question is, how did I use it in finding the monolith in Utah? I've told the story to quite a few of my clients, and they just love this. Actually, a few of the workshops that I've taught on my, I guess, 2 or 3 days before my birthday, my husband ran into this news flash where they had discovered a monolith in one of the state parks in Utah. Be a fun day trip. So my husband said, hey, for your birthday, let's go find this monolith. I put the turkey in the oven so that we could actually have Thanksgiving on my birthday, as well as hopefully find this monolith. Towards the latter part of the evening, he says, oh, I think I've got it. This is where we're going to go. Bright and early on Thanksgiving, we packed up the car, turkey, stuffing, and everything else that goes with a most excellent Thanksgiving dinner, and we headed off to Utah. When we got there, it was off-road. It was really rough terrain. We were actually driving in riverbed. So of course, there's going to be rocks and there's going to be ditches and all of that stuff. And I started to panic. As we're hitting all these things from underneath or looking over and seeing that the drop off was steep, I was starting to feel a lot of fear. And I was having all these death scene scenarios in my head about how we were going to meet our demise or how we were going to completely destroy our car. Either way, it wasn't a fun deal. Finally, we got to the very end of this riverbed and we saw a bunch of cars along the side of it. We parked thinking we must be close. And we started walking down this riverbed. The topography was breathtaking. The weather was absolutely perfect. And over to the left side, where it looks like it's an entrance to maybe a canyon or something like that, we saw 2 Starfleet Enterprise officers in uniform walk out of that little canyon. We both laughed when we saw them. It's like, oh, we have to be in the right place. And at the very end, there it was. We found the monolith. It was awesome. By the time we got there were about 10 people taking pictures. Put my hands all over the monolith. It was like just regular metal. There's nothing special about it except for the location, the adventure, and finding something like that. We were there for quite a while, and as we headed back to the car, those death scene scenarios started to come back into my head. We got in the car and we started it up and we were going to head back. We had decided that we were going to stay in Utah and look at some of the other parks. We actually went into the Arches, which is, if you haven't experienced it, man, it is awesome. As we started to drive over there, I noticed that I was clenching at the thought of going over the edge. It just occurred to me, wait a minute, I've got tools. I don't have to do this. I don't have to freak out. I can just simply say my cue word and get rid of wherever this crazy thinking has started. With every death scene scenario, I said my cue word. Is it still there? Yes. Where is it in my body? I said my cue word, and then I checked in again. Is it gone? Yes, it's gone. And as soon as it's gone, the next death scene scenario popped up. I must have had about 200. I don't know where they came from or how long I've had them. The point is, I no longer needed them. I've also done enough work on myself and also as an energy medicine practitioner to know that when you're in that high state of hypervigilance, you're really depleting your energies, all of your energy systems within the body, which will eventually cause disease. Getting rid of all that stuff allows your body to move the way it's supposed to. It allows your heart-brain connection to start functioning again, which I hadn't at that point even started to learn about, let alone master. When I got home, what I realized was at some point during the drive, I was peaceful. Whatever it is that has got you in a state of nervousness, like with me, fear, anger, stress, trauma, whatever it is, old beliefs that are causing feelings that your parents passed on to you or your teachers, your coworkers, the kids you grew up with, all of that stuff can be eliminated or neutralized, which is pretty much the same thing. So you're no longer responding to the past. You have all of this beautiful space just to respond to the present. The next question that I received is, how can I use this technique to help others as a practitioner? With some of my clientele, and also once or twice a year, I have just basic workshops. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours in length, where I simply go through the whole process and teach others. The first phase is to have something you want to work on. You give yourself the subconscious directions. It's like, I no longer want to do this, blah, blah, blah. The second thing is we take a look at something that's called stoppers. And stoppers are kind of like little roots that have really set hold in the subconscious that really wants to maintain that behavior. In Eden Energy Medicine, we call it the triple warmer. And the triple warmer is a fight, flight, or freeze. And it's completely devoted to keeping us safe and is responsible for our survival. Same with the stoppers. I might have something, being afraid of falling off the cliff while we're driving. That might be the issue I'm working on. With the stoppers, I can go from line to line. I believe there's 12 stoppers, and I can say my cue word for each one of those anytime during the session as I'm neutralizing all of the things that I no longer want driving my bus. These little tentacles, as they get touched, they too have the opportunity to neutralize. If we don't address them, one of the things that may happen is that they come back. The whole idea behind this is once you do an entire session, Dr. Nims calls these treatments. Once you do this treatment, ideally this will never come back. If they do, no worries. You have the techniques to get rid of them and neutralize it, but they come back because we didn't get all of the roots. The roots are so deep that it might take several sessions in order to get all of them plucked out. It's kind of like a jacaranda tree, or something along those lines. Don't feel bad if it takes more than one session. Getting rid of the stoppers and neutralizing those is the second phase. And then the third phase is the closing sequence. So we want to make sure that we address and neutralize all trauma that was associated with what we did, all anger towards ourselves, especially, and towards others. We want to forgive ourselves for having this, and somebody tells us, hey, this is the way it is, and our subconscious says, oh, okay, then that's the information we've been living on. Forgiving ourselves is really an important thing. Forgiving others for implanting those thoughts and ideas. There's always a caveat too with forgiving others. It doesn't mean that if they have been abusive, we forgive the act. We just forgive ourselves for having those types of things. So we say our cue word for that. If not, as we go through the process, that'll be discovered. That's Be Set Free Fast in a nutshell. I hope you gleaned something from that. It is something that has piqued your curiosity and that you would like to investigate in the future. If you do, all you have to do is just drop me a line and I'll be more than happy to make an appointment and let's get rid of those little pesky thoughts and feelings. Until next time, our meditation for the spring equinox. Please know that you're loved, and until next time, namaste.